Yo, what's poppin', everybody? Welcome to another edition of the PODICAST right here in Molapo Crossing at the Molapo Crossing Theatre. It's right in the back. You can see the piazza right in the front, and just where the soccer fields are. That's where they're situated. You can have your events also here. You can have small conferences, press conferences. You can have intimate performances, if you want to do something for yourself and your people, you can come through to Molapo Crossing, and we're going to be coming at you from here every single Wednesday. We're going to be moving around the mall, going to different places, because this is shaping itself up to be a creative hub in Botswana. As you know, there's all kinds of shows that always happen at the piazza, but also you can also have your events right here. And without further saying, man, welcome to the show. It's 3 p.m. on Wednesday, and we have another one of Botswana's greats. Someone who's shaping her career in a way that we haven't seen a lot of people do theirs. They came into this business in a very unconventional way, but we feel her presence nonetheless. She's doing her thing. First of all, before we even get to that, shout out to our partners. As you can see in the back, and as you can see on the clothing, One Stop Shop has jumped onto the bandwagon, and we're now working with them. We're going to be having different merchandise coming through. So sooner rather than later, you'll be seeing a whole lot of PODICAST merchandise, from t-shirts to clothes to all of them. But also special shout out to our homies, Kako. Is it Flamex Empire? They're the ones who gifted us these items for our 100th episode, and we truly, truly appreciate them. Our official, printing partner is One Stop Shop, so you can always check them out. Kako Main Mall. That's it. This young lady was born in 1989. Telling people your business. So it's
exposing me.
Hey, she grew up surrounded by music, and for a lot of people, I think, don't know, she has an honors degree in international business from a Multimedia University in Malaysia. Her debut single, "Love Is Light," was inspired by those formative years in Malaysia, in those days go overseas, in Southeast Asia. She then released a 6-track EP titled Neo, and that's when we got to know a lot about her. And even the renditions, all of those, led to this beautiful, beautiful career that we are witnessing. Performed at places like MTN, Bushfire. She's been on all kinds of stages, man. And we're here so that she can tell her story herself. I'm sure people have heard her story, hey, where you were born, but we want to talk about even the now, because she keeps pushing and pushing and pushing. You wonder why I have a pillow with me? Yes, like I said, Flamex hooks us up. So if you want to sleep on me, holla at them, guys. Without further ado, give it up for Mpho Sebina. Hey, Mami Sto.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Hey, what do you do on a normal day like this?
Today started at about 11. I had a meeting with a social media agency who want to kind of help me with my social media management. Yeah. I had a solo lunch, and now I'm here.
That's what actually I was saying to Abby.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen you alone.
Really?
It's either, well, usually there's Jade, you know what I mean? She's your girl.
Yeah.
And usually there's Mpho as well. Sometimes there used to be you guys. I'm just saying that. So when are you? Why today? Why are you alone today? Because you usually have like your tribe with you.
I mean, I feel like I spend a lot of time alone. As an entrepreneur. A lot of my friends are working. They're working people. So I'm alone quite a bit, running my errands, hustling the streets of Gab. So I spend quite a bit of time alone.
No doubt. Are you from Mutshudi or Serowe?
So I was born Mutshudi.
Okay.
My mom says, the hospital out there was quite good. The clinic, Deborah, yeah.
Still is, apparently.
Still is. So she chose to birth me there. That time, and that's how I relate to Mutshudi.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So do you go there often?
Tumuchidi? Not often at all.
Yeah,
not
like
often at all.
Your grandparents and all those other people. Where do you usually go? How
okay. So my mom otswa Kanye, my dad otswa Serowe,
Okay.
you know, but I was really raised ke my mom's side of the family, and that's ko Kanye. So harra khaira Kanye.
Oh, all right.
Yes.
Oh, that's the link with German Dollar's sister as well, because
I guess lene ke hongela me ako Kanye, but we met in primary school, so we met hela ka botsala no hela.
Yeah.
But yeah, my mom otswa Kanye, me ka Setswana ke mokalaka from Serowe.
Damn, well, wait a minute. Like,
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So I am the bakalaka Sebina bako Serowe. It's just that ke godiseditswe ko Kanye.
Dope. You speak any?
Antolebeleke.
That's it. I'm sure.
Antolebeleke.
You got some. You only have that.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I don't.
Yeah, but I'm
you.
getting there.
I always wish like I knew another language. You know, I always like a lot of people buy what about Swakonokobo, like Bakalagadi and also Bakalaka Lebaye. You know, I'm always really jealous because like some of us are stuck with like these two. So
yeah, it's not too late for us to learn though.
I low key judge you guys who don't learn it. You know,
But
I got
who?
friends, but Tanyala, Bojo Tanyala. Joe can't speak a word,
Yeah.
and you know what Tanyala is like a really Kalanga
Yeah,
surname.
yeah.
So Apollo will be talking to me, but you and your Kalanga niggas who can't talk Kalanga. You know, so do you ever get that? Do people ever? Do you ever get any?
Not too much. I think
pushback?
you're the first person to throw that shade at me, to be honest.
Hadi. But yeah, you cited you know, family and you know, legends like Bonbo Brenda Fassi, Bo Miriam Makeba as your inspirations. When did you discover that you know you have the gift?
So I was about 9 or 10 and Nerloko Freiberg visiting some family friends of ours, and I was just there as a young 9, 10-year-old singing to myself, and my family friend, Geharu, you know you can sing, right?
Yeah.
And nobody had ever said that to me.
Yeah.
So I think it was then when I was about 9, 10 that I was conscious of the fact that, okay, and I think once somebody affirms you in that manner, you start to believe it yourself. So I kind of carried it with me since I was, you know, that young. And I come from, you know, a family of really great vocalists. Like some of my cousins are really great vocalists. And it was just something we do for fun. But it wasn't something that I thought I could pursue until much later on in my life.
That's really what I want to get at, because Mpho was just, you know, this fly girl who's in town. I want to get Raya. We have mutual friends, so I want to get Raya. But I never, like, you know, when people grow up and you're like, okay, your Neo is going to go down that path.
Yeah.
This one is going to be a singer. I don't know when I really started, like, paying attention what Mpho is a singer, because you did those remakes.
Yes.
Did you do them before you started recording music?
Yeah, so I did them simultaneously. This is after I graduated from university. I came back home, but I was hanging around a lot of musicians at the time, Bokeb, who then introduced me to the Favis and Bograndpa, and we were working on a lot of music at the time. And at the same time, Rahman El-Kindi got word of my music, and they were doing those showcases. What was?
Do you know?
Jazz Exchange.
Yeah.
So I got booked for a Jazz Exchange before I released any of my own music, and you know, at that time it was like, okay, my name is now being thrown out there as a musician, but Khakisi can say any of my music. So I started doing those covers, you know, putting them on my SoundCloud, and they gained, you know, quite a lot of traction. So that's how those covers came about.
Yeah, that was a really amazing idea. How did you even come up with that? You know, because anyone else would have started, you know, any other people would have started saying, well, okay, no, we want to hear your original music first when you come out. But you did them so well in the way that you did them that everyone was just blown away by it, and not even saying, well, we wanted the vibe that you were bringing. How did you come up with that idea?
So it was during that time re rehearsed a Jazz Exchange.
Or you needed jams to perform there?
No, we were just, you know, rehearsing, you know, this unreleased music of mine, and then, you know, ra rehearsa, and the band decided to take a smoke break, Raza, a 5-minute break, and a few of us stayed within the room, and Leroy Nyoni, who was playing drums for me at the time, he jumped on the keys, like everybody's on a break, and he started playing those chords, the other side of the game, the Erykah Badu song. And, I was just sitting there, and then I just started singing Lebo Mathosa over it, but it made so much sense. It gelled so well together, and I was like, okay, you know what, I'm going to record this idea and see what happens. And, it was received very well. Botswana really loved it. South Africans loved it even more because, South Africa has such a holds Lebo Mathosa in such great regard, and I do too. I grew up around the times za Boom Shaka, and it hit me then. We're living in a time where, yes, we are Africans, but we're so influenced by the West, and that's when I got that idea to mash up, our Western influences with our African music.
No doubt.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. And I don't know, did you realize when you were doing it that this was something special? Because I don't know if that's around the time you started getting mention from like South African entertainers.
Yeah.
Okay, Bonang is one of them.
Yes.
A lot of like really, really high profile celebrities.
Yeah.
I think when they heard that, that's when I think they caught on to you. When you were doing it, did you see what we're onto something brilliant here?
You know what? For me, I really loved the music, and I was so young and so eager and so excited for this, and it was just sheer love. For it to have catapulted in that direction, no, I didn't think that at all. You
come back from Malaysia. And why you did finish your degree? I guess. You come back, and was the expectation to pursue a music journey, or did you ever try and get into work?
I did.
I remember you did.
Yeah.
I remember seeing you guys go Commerce Park.
Yeah.
Hey.
I worked a couple of jobs. I worked in a film production agency at some point. And then I ended up in advertising, which was really great for me, a great learning experience. Hella just the day-to-day business practice, and also dealing with people, client management. It was great for me. But, then I was young and very passion driven. I'm like, this is not inspiring me enough. What do I love to do? And at the time I was in studio a lot, and I had the thought, okay, what really drives me? What am I passionate about? And that was music at the time. I'm like, okay, let's see what happens if I quit all this corporate 9-to-5 life and put all my energies into music. And that's how I decided to go on that journey.
How did your family take you now going to studio? How did they feel about it? This chick just came back from overseas and she's about to do what?
My parents were quite supportive in the sense that they were like, okay, that's what you want to do, cool, sharp, do what you're gonna do. Yeah, they gave me their blessing in that regard. My mom is quite entrepreneurial, so I think, and she's always, she worked for quite some time, but there was a point where she really was just pushing her own hustles. So I come from that kind of background, so she was very like, if that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it.
I remember you on Ice 100 once, and I always bring that up. I
let this go.
I never, because I'm proud. I want to, this lady wanted it and she went after it. Mpho said, I just want to move out of my parents' house. This is all I'm trying to do this for. That's why it stays with me, because that's really what we all want out of this thing that we do. Because not a lot of people, take it seriously. So when was the moment where you realized, like, okay, now this could be something for me? Was it when you started performing at Bonobo Jazz Exchange, or was there a moment for you where you're like, all right, cool, I might be on the right track here?
The music production that we were working on the Neo production was so good, and I believed in it so much, and I was like, I think this music is really, really powerful and could really take us somewhere. And at that time I was in my dreamer element. I'm like, let's do this.
There's from your name now, there's Black Butterfly, there's No Evil. Dog, that album. So,
Yeah.
you know, it resonates so deeply with a lot of people, you know, dudes too. You know, what inspired these songs? Like, you know, you say you were in your dreamy phase, but, you know, if you look at Tonetse Pedicena, especially, what really inspired you to get into, you know, into writing stories like that?
I'm a very emotional being, and I really, you know, like to dig deep within, you know, the human soul. Yes, life is a trip. And at the time when I was writing those songs, it wasn't, you know, I think, in my most anxious and maybe depressive kind of state.
Yeah.
And I always like to write towards coming out of that space. So I was really writing towards the darkness or the challenges that I was facing within my life within that period. I was miserable in my job. Yes, it was great. I learned a lot, but I just didn't feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
And I wrote a lot of that music towards that. Yeah.
And I remember there's a lot of things that I remember about you on your come up.
Yeah.
You know, there's a time I think I was performing at WizKid,
Yeah.
The show at the National Stadium, and you were in the crowd. You
Yeah.
know, you are one person who's able to, like, I guess, be the fan of other people before your time came through, which is really, really commendable. You know, when did you start getting gigs now? You know, and people now starting to book you, and now realize nah.
This is a very, very good question. It came far and in between, you know, until I started to build a repertoire for myself and, you know, establish myself within the market, ya Botswana. So the very first gig I remember getting, I guess, was the Jazz Exchange, which was great. We had a great turnout, and you know, I was very nervous. My eyes were closed the whole time. I still have footage from that night because, you know, I'm quite recluse.
Yeah.
Very shy person, you know, given the industry that I'm in. But yeah, it was quite tough for me to put myself out there.
Yeah.
And then another big one that came was Jazz on the Lawn. I don't know if you remember that.
I think I do.
Jazz on the Lawn, they only did it once, and Double HP was on the lineup.
Yeah,
I think Lady Smith, Black Mambazo. And, you know, the music spoke for itself. And, you know, I'm quite a talented kid, and, you know, there wasn't really... You know, there was no denying it, to be honest. And yeah, I think things progressed. You know, every year keeps getting better. You know, I'm going to say 3 years ago wasn't as great as it is now. And, you know, I keep hoping for the best. Yeah.
Do you have help, like management, where the people trying to put you on? Because, you know, you can't make music like the music that you make without staying in the studio, you know, because you guys are so you know how to perfect it. Like, you guys are amazing as your unit, you know, the producers you choose to work with. Was there someone else out there helping you shop the music, shop yourself?
So when I first started out, I was being managed by Lefika Banzi. I haven't seen Lefika in a long time. Shout out to Lefika.
I haven't seen Lefika in a long time.
Yeah.
What's up, Fix? Yeah, man.
I was being managed by Lefika Banzi for a few years, and, you know, he did a good job at marketing the product and going out there, Rirabo Botswana, and, you know, a couple of corporate gigs here and there. And then for a long time, after Lefika, I self-managed for some time, which is something that I feel like I needed to learn. I self-managed for some time.
100%.
Yeah. I wanted 100%, but I also wanted to learn and see, okay, what exactly is going on here. Learned a lot, you know, and also with my advertising background, I think it was, you know, a lot that I learned from there, dealing with clients and that, you know, back and forth negotiating. So for a long time it was that, but now I'm at a point where I'm working with family. And, you know, it's been, you know, it's challenging, but it's also fruitful at the same time. And we've created a little, you know, unit for ourselves. But, you know, I'm always willing to open up and learn more and see how else we can grow this thing.
How, you know, I believe just segueing a little bit. I remember there was a time where I think I tried to send you music and I quickly got worried. You are not one of these singers who wants to just be on the hook, you know. And I think that was a turning point for me also when I started paying attention to like, singers in Botswana, because sometimes they were then just allowed to sing the hook for guys and then you just start rapping. But here you are trying to. I don't think I've heard you sing a hook for anyone.
I'm trying to think. Really?
I'm trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? So. Right now we have your Ginger Stones, we have a lot of vocalists on these house jams and all of these things. Not her specifically, but like female singers who are used as pretty much like the instrument in the music, and then it's not all about them. What do you think about that space? Because I think they end up not really blowing up the way they should, because it's on someone else's card. Can you speak to that? Like, what do you think they could do differently? I saw Lee Atman Isa Sisdo. She worked with those Ancestral Rituals homies. Now you can tell they don't perform with each other that much, because I think she's trying to establish herself. But they have a big hit in South Africa in Three Step. What would you tell them in trying to make it about them?
Wow, what a difficult, interesting, multi-layered question.
I've seen you maneuver it really well. In that you got to be the star of the movie. You know what I mean? If you want to progress anywhere. Borne, I don't know. Is there anything that you can throw at musicians like that who find themselves on hooks or singing lead vocalist there, or how do they make themselves the star that they should be?
Yeah, I guess it's quite an interesting space to be when you are mostly a feature artist, right? That's what they would call them. You have to keep trying, and, you can try, you can fail, but you can always, rebuild yourself. But, just be gung-ho about it and, just keep going for it. The collaboration, Isa Sisdo and Ancestral Rituals, it's not like she was just on the hook, was she?
Yeah, she was singing the whole song.
Yeah, she sang the whole song, which is such a beautiful song.
Ginger as well. She sings a lot of the tracks that she's on. She sings most of it.
Yeah, she is. That's quite a very interesting one. I don't know. I would just I don't know.
We're here for the knowledge, so that at least so I want to, because I don't like them fading away into the background.
Okay.
And then, the fellas are the ones who are...
Is that how you feel? Do you feel like they're fading away into the background?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I would like to see a lot more promoters book, Ginger Stone as a vocalist, even if it's with the jams that she does with Kelvin Momo.
Yeah.
It's the same as Nbo Isa. I just feel the feature takes them completely out of the equation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that they can start charging for themselves, so that they can make that do themselves.
Yeah, okay, I've seen that, especially with the case of Ginger Stone, because she's been doing a lot of these collaborations with the Calvin Momos, but we're not seeing her on the lineups. But I can applaud Day Club, because I see she's performing with Day Club, which is coming up soon. Shout out.
Shout out to you guys.
Another thing that I learned earlier on in my career was that, I quit my job, I quit my 9-to-5, and being like, okay, I thought I was going to release this single and then everybody was going to be calling me for the bookings. And that didn't happen, which is how Naked Soul was born, right? And I, like I say, I'm not one to sit on my hands. Like I said, my mom is a hustler, so I wasn't just used to just sitting, which is how Naked Soul was born. So Naked Soul started, I think it was 2017, and we used to gather every month, go Main Mall. Where Quest used to be. It was called Beer Baron at the time, and I would get musicians together every month and started building my own audience because I believed in myself, I believed in my vocal ability and my performance level, and I was like, okay, if you guys aren't going to book me, I will create this buzz around myself. And it's not about waiting for the opportunities to be created for you. I feel like as musicians, we have so much access to each other as session musicians, as other musicians. We have access to venues. It's just about negotiating and figuring out deals, but you have to be able to also learn and create an audience for yourself. So that's what I would say.
And there's places like this, Molapo Theatre. Just go talk to the center management and start doing your own shows. Another person who's really doing well with that is Baxen.
Yeah.
Baxen has figured it out. If I'm not getting booked, I'm going to go talk to the club owner, talk about a door deal maybe. You know what I mean? You want to sell liquor, people want to come see me. Let's make something happen. So I applaud everyone who tries to make gigs for themselves and they don't just sit there. When you founded your Naked Souls, it actually moved into South Africa as well. How many episodes of it have you had?
We've done quite a bunch of Naked Souls. We featured actually a whole lot of different artists.
You got some names and stuff?
Yes. We've done a Naked Soul with Hansi. We've done one with Shantilo. We've done one with... Poet Babe, and she's also a vocalist.
Mamsi.
Abby.
Who is she? With the big hair.
Yes.
I think it's Mamsi Tebe.
But now, no, not Mamsi.
Yeah.
But okay, moving forward, we've done one with Sybil Knight.
Nene, you need to get back in the studio, man.
Yeah, we've hosted a whole bunch of different artists, and in my hustler spirit, I've also been able to get funding to host them in Johannesburg and in Pretoria as well. I'm a huge believer in Music in Africa, which is a platform for musicians. If you're not on there, you should check it out because there's always so many opportunities. That's how I ended up in Berlin. That's how we ended up being able to shoot that mini production. It was called a Naked Soul Digigroove, which we hosted during COVID. There was a whole lot of funding opportunities for that, and we managed to host a bunch of different artists from Flex the Ninja to Jade to Jordan Muzi, their real names, and there's a whole lot of opportunities for artists on there.
So do you think Botswana musicians are lazy?
I don't think so.
Because you're doing so much, and like for some people would think, it's just the talent that speaks for itself. But you're showing us that there's a lot more to it. Build an audience, build a community, try and knock on doors yourself, and not hide behind someone and think, what listening for you? No doubt. I want to get into Tone. How do you conflict resolute? Because like you said, you worked with Lifika as your manager, and then you guys parted ways. How are you able to part ways, even with production? They were a unit also with Bonobo Charles, Bo Grandpa, they were also in your band and all of that. How easy is it, or how do you, sit guys down and say, yo, I gotta move on? I gotta ask it because I think sometimes we sit in relationships that, are not serving us, and then I think we wait for like one big breakup. Do you sit guys down? Do you have this conversation, or what the hell else?
I wish it was as emotionally mature as us sitting down and being like, okay, this is not working out. It's uncomfortable. It's not always easy, but sometimes it needs to be done. But I'm not the type of person who burns bridges. If a relationship is not serving me, that's just what it is. I have to protect myself first and foremost. But it's not to say that I don't work with those people anymore. We still work together, we still communicate, but maybe not in the same capacity as it was in the beginning. And it's uncomfortable, but the ship has to keep going.
You work very, very closely with Charles Favi on your first project. For people who were listening to it, felt it was sort of like me and Press Beats. When people listen to it, they're like, this nigga can't work with anyone else. You have to go back to Presley, Mona. Mpho is your only song. You have to go back to Presley. How easy was it finding other people to work with outside of Favi?
Favi is really talented. I'm not going to deny that. And, you do have that thing of like, will I ever beat my first work? Will I ever beat the quality of my first product? And, I think as musicians, as artists, we have to be able to, go with the flow, work with other people, and, you know, believe in yourself. Yes, that production may be great, but you're also great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's so many talented musicians here and production houses that, you know, I would like to be able to work with everybody and see how I fare on, you know, on different productions. Yeah, it's scary, but it's got to be done.
Why Flex?
Flex is talented.
No, I know. How did you guys link up? Because
how did we even link up?
Because like when that production came through, I was like,
which
damn,
one?
When the music started coming through, you know, and I'd heard, because, you know, I'm close to one of our childs and stuff, and it, like you said, it wasn't very emotionally mature. The parting ways, but like when I started hearing music, your music with Flex, and you're working with him, it didn't sound too far off. It didn't sound like you were starting a new relationship. It sounded like you were developing also. Like you said, you're talented as well. So how did it start with him? How did you feel, okay, this is the guy that I can start working with now?
I worked with so many different people. I worked with Flex. I worked with KD Bangers.
Yeah, Bangers.
Yeah, I worked with Sandile, with Sandy Ngube, you know. And I guess the community is small. And I find myself ending up in rooms with different people, different musicians, and we kind of become a community. And I think I met Flex maybe through Bodeto Seiko. And it took a while to transition from that, because, you know, you do kind of believe, okay, my music is good here. Where am I going to go? Am I still going to sound the same? And, you know, it actually took my collaboration with Dato to meet other people. And I'm like, oh, there's, you know, so many other people that I could work with. And that's how I met them. And, you know, I keep meeting people all the time.
How then, you know, did you start moving into SA? Because it looked like I said, every single time you would do music, there would be a new celebrity who catches on to you, and then they tell the rest of the you know, their audience about you. How did the move to SA start? Like, when did you start performing in South Africa?
When
for money.
Hey,
when did you start going out there and getting booked, and how easy was that? How did you manage to make that transition? Because a lot of us are still here, You keep elevating. You find ways to do your thing. So I'm trying to figure out, how then did you manage to start knocking on doors in SA?
My very first booking in SA was with this rapper duo called TSA Nobody Else. And they were also doing their own, you know, showcases, and I think that was my very first time there. I was invited to some basement somewhere called Bramfontein. Paid, yes, I don't perform for free. So how it started, I think it was through those covers. SoundCloud days, you know, I always revere the power of the internet and the power of social media. It's so great. And, you know, it's been able to expose us as musicians to the entire world, you know, whereas I felt like for a while African music was quite, you know, gate-kept. But with social media and with the internet, there's so much power, and we're exposed to so many different people. Also, at the beginning of my career, Akrafavi was in Joburg quite a lot, and he had great connections with, you know, a gentleman by the name Bradley Williams, who also managed me after Lifika managed me. And he was doing a lot of door knocking for me in South Africa, and that's how those bookings came about.
So it's important to get representation.
It is important. Yeah, it is important, but also it's important to get the right representation.
Yeah, I think that's also a lesson to everyone, because you can't do all of, but you can. This side you can handle.
You think so?
That side, you need someone to be knocking on the doors, because I guess relationships, people know each other,
exactly,
and it's easier to get through. You do a lot of corporate functions. How does corporate work for someone who's outside there just looking in and saying, yo, one day I'd like to perform for some dignitaries, because you keep coming back, so this means you do good work. You know, how does one get into the corporate space?
I would say identify the people that you want to work with, create a profile for yourself, and knock on those doors. It's very easy to get those emails, and it's very easy to put yourself out there. You can shoot your shot as many times as you can. You're not always going to get a yes. But also, Botswana, Gaborone is quite an agency-led space.
Advertising agencies?
Yeah, advertising agencies, and a lot of these corporates, they work through the agencies. So, identify the agencies, identify who is in charge of the client, what's, create a profile, send those out. Yeah.
You've never been one to want to perform at like festivals, like.
Why would you say that?
No, something like that. Was that by choice, or? Because that would be crazy discipline. Because these guys are booking everyone. So I'm trying to figure out, were you holding back because you wanted a certain type of crowd?
I think, at the beginning of my career, the sound that I was producing was very neo-soul, very soul, which wouldn't necessarily work in those type of festivals. But I think... Yeah.
Yeah. So it was by choice.
I'd say it was by choice, but it was also maybe, I was very young in the industry, and, this is the music that we were making, and I kind of boxed myself for some time, I would say. And it was only during COVID that I was like, Mara, and what am I doing? I love music, and it's not like I don't love, dance music. It's not like I don't love, house music, and I loved Amapiano at that time. I'm like, why not? Why am I keeping myself in this little soul bubble? And it was only during COVID that I started, going out of my comfort zone. I got a bit too comfortable in that space. And, that's when I did my Amapiano collaborations with the Major League Twins.
With the who?
With the Major League DJs.
With the what? Yeah.
I did my dance project with Coochie.
Yeah.
And so it's not that I don't want to be billed on these festivals. I would love to do a born and raised. Maybe my set might not be an hour long, but I feel like I have created, sound and music that does transcend outside of just corporate and jazz and soulful events. I would love to. It's not that I don't want to.
You feel they typecast you?
I was typecast for some time.
Yeah, no. She's got jams with Major League. She's probably gonna move people more than you guys. So come on, hook a sister up. Talking about Major League DJs. Yo, that was a big feature.
It was.
And on top of that, these niggas led with it. Yeah. Promoted it. It wasn't hidden somewhere in the album. Hey, we have our Botswana just so we can get the Botswana. No, this was the one we're gonna put a video on. How did that come together?
2020, and rumor has it that Bonang is actually the one who introduced them to my music. Now these are rumors that I hear. And so apparently she played them my music, and then they tweeted, oh, Mpho Sebina, your music is amazing. I'm like, thank you. But, outside of the shout out, let's work.
Yeah.
And then they sent me the instrumental, Dina Lady, and that's how that happened. This was all in lockdown. We never met until we shot the music video, I think.
That was a power move.
Yeah,
that was a really, really great move. And since then, how did your life change having such a really, really big feature? These guys are the representation of Mapiano across the world. These are not just a local artist. No, local all over the world. What did it do for you and the trajectory?
It was
of your
great for me. They always say you should really get out of your comfort zone, and that was quite a testament for me because I loved the genre, but for some reason I felt like I was just in this soul space, and so it was great for me. It exposed me to a much bigger market. Yes, I had my little niche crowd in South Africa. Are you looking for this?
No. I'm looking for something else. Yeah, it's right here. No,
Okay.
It took you out of your space.
It exposed me to a totally different and brand new type of market. So I'm forever grateful for that collaboration.
Did you guys ever get to do any performances together?
Yes, we did. We did a bunch of marketing stuff for like YoTV. I remember another SABC production. I did a performance with them. Both Sunday roast.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So where's our deal?
What deal?
Get a record deal. But when people are throwing around record deals there in SA, where's ours?
I've received a few offers, but, I'm very skeptical about a lot of things. I don't want to see myself ending up in a 10-year contract with something that doesn't necessarily make sense for me. I've enjoyed my independence, and I'll wait for a deal that makes sense for me.
What type of deals were you offered?
I've been offered a 360 by Universal. That to me sounds like a trap.
No one, these days, I think these days, that's the only way they can recoup their money.
Yeah, so I don't want to be in debt. I'd rather, be indebted to myself.
So there's no room for negotiation? Like when they make this offer, is it like a template that they're given to every artist, or was there a moment where you guys can actually sit down and try and figure something out?
That's a very good question, and I think maybe I received these things quite early in my career where I wasn't comfortable enough to negotiate these terms for myself. I have received offers from Warner, from Sony, but they didn't make sense necessarily to me.
Yeah. Yes. I remember there was a time where we could only dream of getting an offer. Not even Universal and Sony, Mpho,
and Warner.
And you said no.
Yeah.
Okay. So after this no, do you feel you're in a better space though now, or do you think are there any regrets about not taking some of these deals on?
No, I've really, really enjoyed my independence. I've really enjoyed, being able to own when I release music, the type of music that I want to release. Getting 100% of my of my check. No regrets. Am I still open to it? Yes, I am. And I think, the music industry is such a delicate space, and for years it's been marketed like you need a deal and you want this deal. And we're seeing now, superstars, even in the US who are coming out now like, I haven't received a single coin from, this record that I made, because, musicians, I think for the longest time it was marketed like you want to be successful and you want to be the superstar. And yes, superstardom is cool, but I prefer money, and I want.
It's nothing worse than a broke superstar.
I want money in my account. This deal needs to make sense for me, and I feel like as musicians we need to be wary and very aware. Okay, cool. Yes, you have this deal with this label, but is it serving you? Are you benefiting from this? And a lot of the time, record labels need you. They're making money off of you. And for the longest time, it's been marketed like we need them, but no, we are the ones who are keeping their lights on. So you need to be aware of that.
No doubt. And promoters, Mobotswana, how's your relationship with them? Is everything copacetic? Because you have a band, Rabana. So I always appreciate like how you have a unit, and you never compromise on how you're gonna come on stage and what you're gonna do. And these guys, because how are the promoters when it comes to our acts here and how they treat them? Maybe this is the moment to vent.
You know what? What is my relationship with the promoters in our current climate? Not that I'm pretty straightforward,
Yeah.
you know, I work in a certain way. If my needs are not met, I'm not going to compromise, because at the end of the day, I got bills to pay, I have a band to pay. I don't like to, you know, people around, you know, the whole performance or compensation. So if it's not looking good for me, I won't usually approach it. And I work with people who want to work with me and who want to work well with me. So yeah, that's just what it is. I can't say I'm having a bad experience. I'm not complaining.
Okay. What about the pay disparity between international acts and BW acts? Because we're journalists. we're out here. Okay, pseudo journalists, but you know, we investigate. I mean, hey, you know, we know. I mean, when
this week?
I think killing. 150,000 plus flights and accommodation and food and the DJs already do like a rider.
Okay.
So Lona, in the space that you are in, you have a band, you tear the house down all the time, and you are on big lineups with. You can tell there's a budget here, you know.
Yeah.
I guess maybe you don't care about it. I'm just trying to figure out what are you conscious of it, of the big pay disparity between us and other acts from outside of the country?
I am conscious of it, and you know, I am conscious of it. But am I gonna compare myself to a Casper in your vest? I'm not gonna compare myself to a Casper in your vest. I charge what I believe I'm worth.
Okay.
And I will charge that, and I will send it to you, Tato. And if you say I'm not gonna pay you with that, I'm gonna pay you with a bottle of champagne, I'm not coming. It's just that simple. And it's unfortunate if we keep encouraging that kind of behavior. Okay, now I'll get paid by this. But if that's what you want to do, because there's so many different reasons why we're doing these things, you know.
We don't do the same thing for the same reasons.
Exactly. Yeah. Now I want money in my account. I have bills to pay. I have people to support. I have a life that I'm trying to build for myself. So certain things I won't do. The disparity that I do see, that I think it is quite shameful, is just the treatment that I see, you know, behind the scenes between international and local acts. And I think, you know, one event really stands out to me where, you know, I was just trying to get to our section, and it was a thing of, oh no, you can't use this entrance. This entrance is only reserved for, you know, international acts, which is, you know, the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I've performed in different countries and different spaces, and I don't remember ever you know, this entrance, and you know, it's quite hurtful, it's quite shameful, and I think, you know, we should be able to speak out more about these kind of things in a way that, you know, some action can be taken, and I don't know how we can address these issues. Luckily, it's not something that I've experienced a lot, but it's happened once, and I wish I was a bit more vocal about it after the fact of that horrible event.
Hey, regular kuya mo backstage. Well, nani ke seo nigile go koleng ke bona majita go kubilo mo backstage pototi if you wait. I think we kila ga thunyela mpamanyana. Because I really don't understand that thing, and just like, you know, you're saying, in other countries, there's nothing like that. You know, if you're on the roster, you get given, you're quoted. I mean, if you are a bonang and you're off that stature, you know, you can actually get your own little tent because she writes it down on her rider. What is that about us? Why do you think for artists is? But why do you think it is? Because I haven't seen it anywhere else. Other countries actually revere their talent. It's on Labon. For some reason here, and it goes to but the organizers, the marketing head, so the agency sometimes or they want to remind us that we're not those people.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
whatever that
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Why do you think that is? If you can, because you've probably gone through it, and what do you think?
I think
the reasoning is,
which is very unfortunate for Botswana, is we come from a place of a lot of self-hatred and a lot of self-doubt, and I'm not too sure where it stems from.
Yeah.
But I'll always blame colonization from the root, from them just trying to get us to not love ourselves, as Black people, as Botswana. It's something that's been indoctrinated within Africans, and more so, I'll speak from a Botswana context. It's something that, has been indoctrinated within us for ages, since colonization, since those times. And it's a lot of unlearning that we have to do. And a lot of people, we're all unlearning at different spaces.
Yeah.
I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, I love who I am. I love being a Black woman. I love being a Botswana woman. And I love our culture so much. And I'll try and celebrate it as much as I can, in the hopes of inspiring a lot of our younger generation to try and unlearn all of that horrible stuff.
Yeah.
But there's people who are still stuck in that self-hatred.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if you don't believe in yourself as a Black person, as a Motswana, and you think it's a horrible thing to be, you will take it out on the next person, and take it out on the next person who is trying to liberate themselves from that even more so. And it's, as artists, like, we are the ones who are liberating ourselves from that and celebrating ourselves from that. So we will find we are the ones who will bear the brunt of your self-hatred even more, because you to me represent something that I can't free myself of. I think that's where it stems from, and it's very sad. It's very, very sad.
Yeah, no, you broke it down.
It's very, very, very sad.
Because
so when I have with all this, it's really just a reflection of themselves.
What they feel about themselves.
Sad.
I really think what a protectorate doesn't mean colony. That's exactly what a colony is. Protected from what? And I think you hit the nail on the head, because I think there's even back in the day, no segregation, and then you are the favorite Black. You know what I mean? And we start hating each other like that. I've never heard anyone break it down like that.
Okay, I'm glad.
Mind blown, mommy. So I want to get back to the deals.
Yes.
They will speak about Gallo Records. You did a tribute for Brenda Fassie. And I think this was in collaboration with Black Coffee actually taking over Gallo. Hey, why didn't you sign with Black Coffee? I mean, this is a big deal. You're doing a tribute to Brenda Fassie on a Black Coffee executively produced album via Gallo Records.
Yeah.
They couldn't have set it up better.
Yeah, and I worked with Favi on that production, just to go back on the fact that, yes, we can still work together, burn no bridges. The deal didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me, and I love that song. For me, it was really surreal to be able to officially do a Brenda Fassie remake. And you know what? I might even say I've been maybe operating from a place of fear, because I've seen artists get burnt, and artists who I love, and I've been seeing so many old school American R&B hip hop stars that we revered, that we loved, and to hear about TLC say they had no money in their account, but they were out there, and I'm like, that's really not what I want for myself, And it's not to say that it's all bad, but let me just say maybe I have been operating from a little fearful point, because I've seen how people take artistry. They can see the value in us, and a lot of the time artists are really, really terribly exploited, and I really don't want that to be my story. I love owning my time. I can't imagine you better release a single in the next 2 weeks, and this is what it should be, this is what it should sound like. I can't operate like that. But maybe, I'm trying to now operate from a less fearful point. I'm older, I'm wiser.
Someone said, it's a soft life blind, and
yeah, we really don't.
Yeah, and we're not even looking for it. And I don't know why people want to glorify or you need to have suffered for you to actually make it in the music industry.
I've really, really been thinking about that a lot, because a lot of the time, success is pinned together with, this long-term struggle.
Terrible conditions, for you to now be... Every little crumb you get, I guess, is going to excite you if you're living in a very, very bad space.
100%.
But, not all of us, and you shouldn't be wishing for people to, and then that's the story that always comes forward, You can be educated and be okay and grew up in a good home and do good
and
music.
Succeed and just make music.
So that's what always irritates me. They make it about that. A lot of the artists went to SA and came back. Editors that thing are terrible, Have you been close to anyone? I think you worked with Tato, Jessica, at one point. I don't know if you've worked with think about it.
Ice Cold Mob.
That Ice Cold Mob homie as well. I think he was signed in South Africa as well. There's a lot of stories. I don't know if, because you guys are around each other, if they ever tell you what they went through, are you able to give advice to them about how you are able to move? Do you ever meet with any one of them?
Yeah, Tato I've worked with quite some time. I'm not sure if she's still based out there, but
she's doing farming now and architecture.
Yes. What's the question?
I think we should just keep moving. Because how maybe you can rob dog. Don't do like that. Do like this.
I really don't have the answers. I'm learning as I'm going as well. But now all I can do is just advise, my fellow musicians. And all I could say is just, stay true to your artistry and not to compromise. And I love what you're saying about this belief of, struggling. I don't believe you should be struggling or groveling or anything. I feel like artists should get paid. I don't see it as any badge prize to work or perform or do anything for free. That's really, I want to see my artists capitalize and make money and be comfortable.
No doubt. Tracks like Dikeledi, Toro, Mokoro are very loved by fans. Which song stands out to you as your most personal?
I feel like it changes all the time. I go through different emotions, and my favorite songs also change at that time. I think maybe Dikeledi stands out for me. It was a song inspired by life. I'm always trying to write through pain and overcoming. And I love that song a lot. And it was one where I really tried to push myself. I'm trying my best to be able to express myself in my mother tongue. And that one stands out for me. And I love the music video as well.
Do you perform outside of Gaps? Like, how's the love outside of Gaps?
You know what? Not as much as I would love to. And it was a corporate gig, which was great. But I'd like to be able to go out to Kenya. I've never performed Go Kenya, which is my mother's hometown. I haven't been booked there, but, like I was saying earlier, it's not about waiting for the booking. Maybe I should go there.
And do something
and
there.
do something and see how that goes.
You also describe your sound as soul fusion. How do these African rhythms and R&B find synergy in your music?
I guess maybe just the way that I was raised. I was raised Yvonne Chaka Chaka, Miriam Makeba, Brenda Fassie times, and I just found it so amazing how these authentically Black African women were expressing themselves in the most beautiful way, and those rhythms always stay, close to me, especially as a Motswana. There's so many great sounds that come out of here, from dikwaere to our traditional music, which is something that'll always inspire me.
Yeah, and now I love Dumela.
Yeah.
Not because I'm on the video, but I think it's also you think about it's a really dope song. I'm imagining it now with conferencing. Never mind Hondre Hella just but the way it gives opportunities for performance.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I remember when we were doing that Dreamers Alive thing, and that you were at the top of the program, and you sang it, and it felt like the right song.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Dumela and Loke, you know what I mean? So I really love like your process and thinking these ideas out. Your studio process. How do you get loose in the studio? How let's say we go for a session right now. How do you prep? Are you lighting scented candles? Are you?
That would be nice.
You know what I mean? What happens in the studio in Samajita? Hey, scented candles.
But
so which how do you get ready?
How do I get ready? The studio can be such a trip sometimes, but nowadays I try not to put myself under too much pressure, because sometimes there's that pressure of you're going into studio and you better write something, but actually some days it's not like that, and it's okay. You can come back tomorrow. So I try to approach it with ease and go off of my feelings. I'm a very feeling-centered person, so it's about how do I feel and how do I want to make my listener feel, and what are we going through today. In late 2024, you became the first ever Motswana, Botswana from Botswana, to be invited as a Recording Academy voting member. Shout outs to me.
What did that moment mean for you, and how did it come about?
So I got an email, which I had to check a couple of times. Is this really, really, really what's happening? And it was quite surreal for me. I would have never in a million years, even when I was listing my dreams, this is what I want to do.
Vision board.
That was something that I would have never, ever thought. It means a lot for me as a musician. Grammys are like the Olympics of music, and you want to be there and you want one, and it would mean a lot for us to have as a country. And it was surreal, even being there, watching Stevie Wonder and Herbie Hancock and Lady Gaga. I'm like, am I really, really here? I was exhausted.
The trip.
I was exhausted, but it was really, really surreal. And I'm excited for what it means, and for us to be able to have that accolade, I think would be great. A great story for us and for the future generations to dream big, because we come from we come from
I feel you completely. And as a member, how do you influence what we end up seeing on the screen?
So as a member, first and foremost, I am able to recommend to more people to potentially join. I've made my recommendations for the year, so hopefully we will see. But apparently I've made 2 of my recommendations.
Be your own people. No.
And then after that, we have the opportunity to submit music that is then potentially voted on by other members to become shortlisted for nomination.
Also, these 2 that you're nominating is to be members or
members.
Okay.
So that's number 1. Number 2 is I have the ability to submit music for consideration. So I can submit my music, I can submit your music, I can submit anybody's music alongside a certain list of categories that the Academy brings out. And then after the submissions have been made, we listen to that music and we we vote on that music to be shortlisted for nomination. And then we vote on the nominated music for the potential wins. Yeah.
How many of you guys are there? There must be like a...
It's a lot, and it's a lot of music. But
that's a lot of music.
It's a lot of music to go through. It's a lot of music to go through, but also it's a numbers game, and it's about votes, and it's about campaigning, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of research. It's a lot of research finding out who the different. You're finding out who the members are. You're finding their emails. You're sending them. You're saying, vote for me, vote for me, vote for me, which is, it's quite overwhelming. It's quite a lot, but, you know, it's a step in the right direction. But for Africa, I think it's quite interesting because there's so many categories that we can place ourselves in. There's a category called, you know, Best African Performance, and when you think about African performance, what could that mean? You know?
Yeah, that's really broad.
It's broad. How big is the continent? Because now that means you're throwing in Africans in the soul space, in the traditional music space, in the hip hop space, and we're all thrown there.
All together. But at least we have an inside man, guys.
We do.
Inside
one
man.
foot in the door.
Yeah,
one foot in the door.
And we're looking forward to it. I saw you do also some work. I don't know if it was for Google.
Yes.
When you went to
Nairobi.
East Africa, so what type of work is that? I see a lot of East African travels on your stories. What were you doing out there with Google, and what opportunities does that bring into your whole thing?
For me, any travel I make is always a networking opportunity, and I think, you know, with music and the type of work that we do, networking is key. It's about, you know, what radio personalities are out there that we can make connections with. How can we get on the airwaves? What musicians are out there? So that invitation was Google Africa, and the theme of it was the alternative African creative space. So they identified me as an alternative musician, and it was a bunch of us. It was journalists, musicians, content creators, and it was a few days of incubation, networking, having a few conversations with Google, YouTube, and I remember asking questions about, you know, the issue of us not being able to monetize, you know, from our YouTubes and stuff this side of the world, and, you know, I didn't really get clear answers.
And never do.
I didn't really get clear answers, but, you know, that
was before October. You were saying everything there. Niggas were wild before the elections. Yes, we're going to bring
but
you get an electric car. You get an electric car. It's like, it's wild. Like, guys were using that as bait. But I don't see anyone actively trying to get us.
But it's up to us, Lorna, follow up and bring our people to order.
These smaller countries that already are monetizing. I just don't understand what it is about, you know, but, you know, I think Lorona, like you're saying, it's not up to government, you know, but it gets irritating when they insert themselves in the conversation, even though it's not that important to them. Speaking of government, I had a question here. You lobbied Botswana's government to support your Grammy bid.
Yes.
And you know, did they help you did you pay for your own ticket? Or is the Grammys that put you on the plane, or what?
Oh, I wish it was the Grammys putting me on the plane.
Who holds you up?
I wish it was the Grammys putting me on the plane. And, you know, like a lot of, like Hanerubu can't tell about music and how it's been marketed, but, you know, music is actually a very expensive sport, right? So even with my induction into the Grammy Academy as a member, you do a membership fee.
Jesus.
And now we're talking about dollars.
Thousands.
It's $150 US.
Yeah, that's still 1.5. It's still a lot.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a lot of dough.
And even when I get the email, oh, hey, we are now inviting you to the Grammys, I have to buy a ticket. And the cheapest ticket on there was $440.
Yes.
And then they're like, yeah, come through, babes. Buy a ticket to the US. Where you gonna stay? What are you gonna do? Yeah, it's a lot of money. And even with the submissions for music, I get 5 free submissions, but thereafter I think it's about $50 an entry. Yeah.
Everything needs to be paid for.
Everything needs to be paid for.
So I am
paying. I am paying.
But you're investing in your career, which
am.
says a lot about like how you go about your thing. You're not taking the easy way, around. Yeah, if you want something, you go there and you get it done.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I keep asking you all these hard questions for you to at least help help other people think about it differently, because I think sometimes it's about our point of view. You have such a well-traveled point of view about how the music industry is in Africa and now the world. So I support you and want to be ultimately like you.
Yeah.
You know
and to answer your question, did the government support? Yes, they did. And they met me halfway.
Okay, sorry.
They met me somewhere in getting me there. So shout outs to NACB that did, cover some of my costs.
You're the first one to talk nicely about them. How was the relationship? No, I'll be getting a couple of guys out here just trying to get me cancelled. NACB, what is the relationship with them? Like how easy is it to get help from them? Or did they just see Grammys and I thought, okay, we're gonna get into it? Or is there any other things that you can? Yeah, because I've never worked closely with them like that.
How come?
I'm getting different responses from different people.
Have you never applied for any of their grants or?
No.
Why?
I always feel like when someone sees my name and they're just say, this troublemaker.
Really? Apply.
We've been around so long that you feel, people have already got like an idea of what they think you are, and then. But Ketapla.
Yes.
So they have grants.
Yeah, they have grants.
Okay.
They have a mobility fund, and the thing about the mobility fund is that they want to champion artists who want to mobilize. This is coming from me as somebody who wanted to mobilize my trip to the US again. But the trick about the mobility fund is that ibulela at some points in the year and at some points in the year, which is difficult because things can happen throughout the year. So I had to do a little bit of kicking and screaming and knocking on doors and saying this is the Grammys. I think it's a really great opportunity for us, and they did eventually come to the party, and it's about perseverance, guys, and knocking and not taking no for an answer.
How was the space between you asking and them hooking up?
Lynn and I approached them quite late because my approach at the beginning was to talk to the Ministry of Arts and Culture. And I wrote a couple of letters to the Ministry of Arts and Culture, and the response was that, Kana, my dear, these things are also from NACB. And I ended up approaching them quite late about the issue, and quite late, I'd say maybe 2 weeks before I had to leave. And I'm really thankful that they did pull through, but I really do think that there maybe should be a way or a communication from them that lets us know as artists what channels should we take, certain things.
But before we continue, are you looking to send your parcels from Botswana and South Africa? Expert Express Deliveries offers courier and logistics services between Botswana and Joburg on a daily overnight express delivery basis at competitive rates. So visit their website, which is www.expertexpress.co.bw. That's expert spelled like you spell expert. Expert Express. Leone Express. Express. For more information or to book a collection, you can also contact them on +267 7549 8811. That number again, +267 754 98811. Expert Express Deliveries BW. Anything, anywhere, on time. Let's go back to our conversation with Miss Mpho Sebina. Are you dating?
I am dating. Hey! I am happy in love.
Where's the blow? Yeah? How's that going?
It's going good.
It's going nicely. And people pressuring you about marriage?
Not as much, hey?
Hey, now they pressure me every day.
Really?
Hey, every day. Do you think I don't know?
I think maybe the pressure is more on men, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you are the ones who are supposed to pop the question.
That exactly.
Yeah.
But he was here saying,
Who's
we are
he?
partners. Would you like to tell us who it is?
The person that I'm dating?
Yes.
I mean, I'd like to keep it to myself, to be
okay.
honest. Yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's good.
Butterflies and shit?
Yeah. It's really good.
What do you guys do for fun?
We watch a lot of movies, eat a lot of food.
Is he romantic?
Yeah, he's quite the romantic. Yeah.
Any questions, guys?
He's quite the romantic. We travel a lot, and
Like,
come on, thought.
No, and I love.
Yeah.
You know, every time I see it, and I'm really, really happy for you.
Yeah.
You're one person, you know, who can believe I get like this sharp blind. And I know like this sharp blind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're all for it.
Yeah.
I think I'm not going to sit on this. This is not a tabloid podcast. We keep it moving. Looking back, what would you say to a 25-year-old Mpho?
Save our money. Like, save your money. Like, at least, just 10%, will go a long way. Just save a little. Dough. Yeah, save your dough, baby.
I see, the guy that you didn't tell me about, telling me, you guys wanted to check out some churches. Are you spiritual? Or,
I am very spiritual. There's so many amazing things that happen in my life, Tato, that I can only attest to God. Helena, sometimes people ask me, what connections did you have and what did you do to get this? And I can only attest to a higher power. I feel like, more and more as I go in my career, I understand that certain gifts people are given, and it's not my own ability. Sometimes not sometimes, but I am very aware it's a higher power moving through me. Yeah.
Definitely. I love that, man. Yeah. Because especially with talented people, I always wanted to ask you about your style of singing.
Yeah.
Because, when me and Abby are talking about singers and stuff, I will tell her, like, no one can hold a note longer than Mpho.
Really?
What do you do for that? Like, I think if you think about it and think about the music, and it's always clear, and it's like it gets stronger the longer you go, Do you do anything special for that?
I haven't done in a long time, and I really want to get back to that.
That you hold it, Mami, like, no shaking, like. And I think that's also like a superpower of yours. It's it's like but it can get you into a mood. It's like part of the instrumentation. Yeah. It's like a vibe in its own. You don't have to overdo anything. It's just we're vibing with you. So I've always wanted to ask you that question. Or do you do anything special for that?
No, and I really want to get back into it. I want to go back to like vocal training, vocal coaching, because I want to be able to improve my art, my craft. Yeah. When I first started, not when I first started, but when I was in university, I was singing in the church, and we had a vocal coach back then, which was quite great for me, and I really want to go back to that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And do you have any, I want one song that makes you cry. One song that uplifts you.
One song that makes me cry right now is from the latest Seretse album. Mabat, where he sings about his wife. I don't know.
I haven't checked it out.
Literally cry.
Yeah. Really?
And then you're the uncle there, and
that's how he sets it up.
Yeah, the premise of the song is Homudiro, and then he says Khatlale Sutilele Mabato, and the album is called Mabato. I believe his wife's name is Mabato.
Wow,
I believe she's the cover. Hey. So then the whole song is just Emma Barobon, and I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, you should go and listen to that song. There's two versions of the song on the album. There's an acoustic version. Listen to the acoustic; it's so beautiful.
And one song that gets you
that gets me going. That gets me going. It's probably like Franco's Gallo Records somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I can already hear it.
You don't know that song?
I know a bunch of his songs. I mean, you know what I mean? Hey,
yeah. Sorry.
Hey, so I no, you blame Malona. So you grew up in Skadishu or you grew up somewhere else?
So there was quite a bit of moving around when I was younger. I was born in and then we moved to Francistown. I went to Molapo for about a year or two, and then I moved to Soa Town for a year or two. But Honalebo Pigwe also somewhere for about a year or two, and then I moved to Gaborone when I was about 8. And that time, Neranako, New Canada. New Canada is between Bontling and Obana, where Ituteng Primary School is.
Yes, I know Ituteng.
Yes, so it's that neighborhood over there. So I lived there from primary school until high school. We only moved to Mogoditane when I was in uni.
So did you go to Rainbow?
Yeah.
What was in the water?
I don't know. I really don't know. So many talented kids.
A lot of talented people came from Rainbow. It's what do you think it was? I think we asked Emma the same question. What did she think? No, I know just like with everyone else, they just feel well, it was in the air. You know, there was just I think it was a new school back then.
Yeah.
So I really can't tell you. I'd have to go and check out the episode to see what she said about it. But there's something special about. I mean, it's not as special as St. Joe, but Hey, like what about?
Who's from St. Joe?
No, I'm from St. Joe.
And okay.
Oh, from Peasy. We started with Peasy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think. Who else was from St. Joe? DJ Sly.
Okay.
Who else is from? Okay, there's a bunch of people from St. Joe's. Oh, Solomon.
Hey.
Cass, there's a bunch of Zen. There's a bunch of people in our space who are from there.
Okay.
So, Lona, what do you think it is?
You know what? I don't know. I can't say we had a really strong arts and drama department. I did art and drama. I wasn't so great at art. I was great at drama.
Yeah. Dramatic.
Yeah, I was great. That's the only A I got in Form 5.
Oh, snap. I don't know how I got an A at Form 3 for art as well. I'm horrible. I know how to do calligraphy, do words.
Okay.
But
no,
not my thing.
I wasn't that.
So you're not sure what it was, but
so I don't know what it was. I really don't know what it was, but you know.
But you're close to Sasa.
Not as close as I wanted to be, and you know that's something that I kick myself in the butt for, because I'm always like, you know, I thought we had so much time. Yeah,
that's always the problem right there.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself a feminist?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I would have.
Do you consider yourself feminist?
To some extent, but like how online.
Let's talk about it.
Because like sometimes, I try to reason. But I'm a feminist because first of all, I love women. I love my mama. I love my lady. I have a lot of aunties. My mom is the firstborn of a bunch of ladies. So I'd like to think, I understand women and emotionally.
Yeah.
Someone who feels a lot more than yourself. But like sometimes I just feel and this is where people start saying people are victim blamers.
Yeah.
When you say the other side of a story from a different point of view. And I think that also always makes guys run away from the chat about GBV, because if they want to say that point of view, I know it's not our place to be saying but like sometimes doesn't have emotional control. So I think when we try to cite some of these examples, victim blamer. Yeah. So I think if we had more honest conversations, not, you are this for saying this. No, listen to these niggas.
Fair.
Because I think they're the ones we kill women. We beat women, you know. And if you guys don't try and understand what, you know, the thought process is, and, you know, you filter it by how a guy is supposed to be talking instead of, how do we change how you address the situation? I think we'd go a very long way.
I think so too, and thanks for bringing that up. But I think, you know, what you have to understand is that I think the statistic is like 1 in 3 women, you know, are victims of some kind of sexual assault or gender-based violence. So the majority of the time when you do speak to women, you're speaking to victims, you know. And so our guard is up.
All the time, yeah.
Yeah, all the time.
I heard about that. But for me, I could be a potential rapist. He could be a potential rapist. So you're walking around with that thought in you. I could never imagine living in fear.
So half of the time, you know, 1 in 3 people that you're talking to is a victim or has witnessed or has gone through something. So our guard is up the whole time. So it can be quite tricky to have those conversations because our first thing is to be defensive.
Okay.
You know, but yeah, I definitely think, you know, especially in this time and in this space, we need to have the conversations because
it's getting out of hand. It's out of hand, not getting
out of hand.
It's out of hand. And how do you think we're missing? I mean, it just got really crazy last week. You know, and it's just that I really don't know where we're at. You know, you try your best also to speak some knowledge into guys, especially because, you know, reads and whatever. I mean, even when we were hanging out with dudes, back in the day, guys would say some dumb shit like boring. And guys would just laugh. But nowadays, even myself, I take it upon myself. It's like, you think that's funny, Nick?
It's not.
You know, if you were to grow up, you know, I tell someone the other day, like, I couldn't wait until I was old enough for my mom to stop beating me. But here we are now, and you still have someone beating you. That thought alone just messes with me. So I'm just trying to figure out, what do you think we can do differently as a nation?
Okay, firstly, I think I need to educate myself more on the laws, Waban. But right now, you know, when we're looking at this case, UB Amaloba, you know, this lady... apparently they had been in court about getting a restraining order, you know, and...
That's why he went crazy.
Yeah.
And that's why I think he lost it.
But if I have a restraining order against you, you know, and I think she tried to get it. Did she get it?
I think she did. She did get it.
Yeah.
And he just was able to get there, you know, in front of people.
Yeah.
You know, and it's getting worse. And I just think, it's all my like, I don't
know.
I think we need to start bringing back the mic. So these niggas can talk to.
Because I would love to hear their perspective. Now at this point, I'm just like, I don't know.
I honestly don't know as well. Huh? I don't know. But it needs to be so extreme. Yes, because I think that's the only way to deter. Because it's like some level of insanity. You know, what do you think about the children? Do you know? I don't know. Tatela, good luck to you, Lesego Chombo. I think everyone now is looking at her to address this thing, which is not fair. It's all about all of us. So,
true.
Yeah, guys.
But definitely stricter laws. I think more conversations between us. I think, you know, it's up to you, male figures in the society, to talk about it. And encourage, you know, your peers. Something really has got to change.
Something's got to
really
change. And our last question, what is your next milestone? What do you want to achieve? What do I want to achieve? Are we headlining a tour? You know, are we, you know, what are we doing? Are we doing a completely to an album? What are we doing?
You know, this is my last few weeks as a youth.
Hey, 3 tigers. Yo,
you know, and, you know, I just want to start thinking, you know, more about, you know, my future, financially diversifying. You know, back then my goal was to get out of my mama house. Now I want to build my mama a house.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, financial freedom, but also, you know, starting a family.
Yeah.
You know, seeing where that goes. You know, a woman with a family, and yeah, trying to express myself more musically and see which direction I want to go, explore more, collaborate more, and yeah, hopefully we're aiming for that Grammy in the next 5 years.
Yeah, I love it. I love to hear it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mpho Sebina. Give her a round of applause. You haven't taken one sip of the Prosecco.
I haven't.
It's a little Prosecco. Shout out. Our guys, the team agency. For the hookup, your Prosecco. And of course, Molapo Crossing Theater. That's where we're at every single Wednesday. And of course, our new merchandising partner, which is One Stop Shop. They hook us up, man. We're about to have some merchandise everywhere, you know. Something, you know, to commemorate the show, because that's how we keep the lights on. We want to keep doing more and more episodes of this nature. So thank you so much.
Thank
Mpho.
you. Thank you for having me.
You have any questions for me? Okay, it's a wrap. But yeah, okay, you can give one.
Where's the music? Are we expecting another album? And when are we collaborating? Like 5 years ago.
But I'll send you something. I'm doing work with Fela currently.
Oh, dope.
He's also, you know, changing his style up. You heard the new Jordan Muzi as well.
Oh, I love that. Is that Fela on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
you see,
okay.
you know, so guys are now starting
to.
So maybe I can get them possibly.
Yeah.
Without that's my biggest sender. But I am working on music. But this is where we're at most of the time. So we're trying to grow this thing. Awesome stuff. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our show. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you to the beautiful Mpho Sebina. Shout out La Parada, man. You see, this is what community brings. We didn't have flutes. And then we got it from our homies at La Parada. They have opened up the shop now after the storm.
You know I'm excited to check it out. I've never been.
It's beautiful.
I'm like, oh, wow.
Goodness for the storm.
Hey,
it's bloody to see some so it's looking very, very nice.
Okay.
And shout out to Molapo Crossing Theater. Come through. There's sound, there's lights, there's everything that you would need to do a show. Or even if you're trying to, you know, music. We need to bring back listening sessions, you know, before dropping music. So I think this would be a perfect place for even musicians as well.
Yeah, I've done 2 shows here.
Yeah. So even Mpho Sebina has done shows here. So we're now, guys, we'll see you next week, Wednesday. Remember to like and subscribe to the Local Corner Multimedia YouTube page. I'm SCAR. I'm out. Peace.
Cheers.
People of different identities.